Welcome to the Express and Impress workshop. In this workshop, you will learn how to tell a story with expression, using character voices, and sound effects. At the end of the workshop, you should be able to tell your story in an interesting manner, creating your own character voices and using interesting sound effects.
Hi kids! My name is Debra and I'm from Rockstarz Performing Arts Studios. Today I'm really excited because I finally get to meet you. In this session today, we are going to be learning how to narrate your story. Now, what does narration mean? Does anybody know? Some good answers there. So what narration means is to tell a story in an interesting and clear manner so people understand and remember your story. Do you know the best way to tell a story? Come on, shout out your ideas. Great answers, everyone. Have you told a story today? We tell stories every day. The most memorable stories are told with expression, emotions, and with clear enunciation, and without us speaking too fast or too slow. Want to learn how to narrate your story in the best manner possible? Then stick around because I'm going to show you how. So, if you have your ebook with you, have a look at the script. If you haven't got it, try and download it before you start this lesson. Now, if you look at your script, you will see the title of this story, The Adventure of Max and Liz. So this is an adventure story, which means you will have to read it in an excited voice. There will also be sections where you will have to create suspense in your voice. How do you do that? All by using the tone of your voice. Now imagine if I read this story in a boring manner, without any expression and without playing with my vocal tone. Let me show you. The Adventure of Max and Liz. Max and Liz love adventures. Max is tall and brave. His sister Liz is slightly shorter than him. She loves to share adventures with him. Max and Liz have heard of a special pink heart, so they are going to find it. They think that the heart must be full of love. Oh dear. Imagine if you read or narrated a story like that. Now, a few things may happen. Number one, your audience may fall asleep. Such a snooze fest. They wouldn't want to listen to your story. Now, something else might also happen. People may get quite upset. And then they would say, why do I have to listen to this boring story? And of course, I think the worst thing is, if you tell the story in a very boring voice, chances are people will start chatting and not pay any attention to you, and so nobody will hear or remember your story. So now I'm going to read the same story. We're only going to do the first paragraph. I'm going to read it this time with expression. The Adventure of Max and Liz. Max and Liz love adventures. Max is tall and brave. His sister Liz is slightly shorter than him. She loves to share adventures with him. Max and Liz have heard of a special pink heart, so they are going to find it. They think that the heart must be full of love. So you notice that I played around a lot with my voice when I read this first paragraph. So in the first line, I emphasized the word love. Because I think when you love something, it just keeps growing. So in the first line, you see Max and Liz love adventures. That excites people. So emphasize the word love. Max is tall and brave. So in this line, I'm highlighting Max's physical characteristics and the fact that he's brave. I think being brave is something very special and deserves attention. So you can emphasize that. His sister Liz is slightly shorter than him. She loves to share adventures with him, so I'm highlighting something that they share, a passion that they share for adventures. Max and Liz have heard of a special pink heart, so they're going to find it. And that's the mission. So you want to spell that out clearly so people know the direction of your story. They think that the heart must be full of love. Once again, I'm highlighting the phrase full of love because love is, once again, something that makes all of us feel warm in our hearts. Now I'm going to ask you to read the first paragraph with expression. Can you try? How did it go? I'm sure you would have read that in the most interesting manner. Now let's have a look at paragraph number 2. Max and Liz are now in a new place. Now when something is new, when we're in a new place, there are lots of things that go through our minds. We may just observe and see what's around us. We may look around in curiosity. So you want to bring those emotions out in the reading. Max and Liz are now in a new place. They have to cross Dragon Land. Oh my, Dragon Land sounds scary. Dragons aren't the friendliest of creatures. I don't think they are. I wouldn't want to meet a dragon, to be honest. I honestly would not mind observing them from a distance, because that would be quite interesting. But I wouldn't want to go into battle with one. Out of the blue, they hear flapping sounds above them. Oh my, if I were near Dragonland and I heard flapping sounds above me, my imagination would run wild. What about you? I'd be quite frightened. So I'm going to read this paragraph in my frightened voice. Max and Liz are now in a new place. They have to cross Dragonland. Out of the blue, they heard flapping sounds above them. Now it's your turn. Think of something that really frightens you. Some people are scared of the dark. Some people are scared of certain creatures. Now, try and imagine and adopt those emotions into your reading. Try and see. Now let's explore those flapping sounds once again. If you look at the next section, you will see a conversation, a dialogue taking place. I'm going to skip that section because we're going to cover dialogues in the next section of our workshop. So let's jump straight into the section where we see Max and Liz keep on running, but the huge dragonflies keep on chasing them. Their hearts were pounding with fear. So, earlier, I thought that the flapping wings were dragons. But oh no, they're not dragons. Instead, they're dragonflies. Have you all seen dragonflies? Dragonflies are actually quite cute. I find them quite cute. But these are giant ones. I don't think I would find giant dragonflies as cute. What about you? Would you be excited or frightened to have giant dragonflies flying and chasing after you? I'd be quite terrified, to be honest. So, let's read that in our scared voice. Max and Liz keep on running, but the huge dragonflies keep on chasing them. Their hearts were pounding with fear. Max points to a tree and pulls Liz, who is panting breathlessly. So, can you try now? Try and read that in your frightened voice. How do you do that? Think of something that really scares you. Let's explore. What's frightening? I think school exams are a bit frightening. They make us feel quite anxious and nervous. What else? What would make you extremely frightened? There are some people who are afraid of the dark. That can be quite frightening as well. Think of something that makes you scared. What are the emotions that you feel? Now, how can you transfer that emotions into your voice? When you're scared, you would speak softly and your voice would quiver. Oh, I'm scared. Now you try to read that paragraph in your scared voice. How did that go? I'm sure you all did an amazing job once again. Now, I'm going to skip the next two lines where you see, I'm scared, Max. Don't worry, Liz. I'll take care of you. I'm going to skip that part because I will cover that later in our section marked dialogues. So we're going to jump into the section which starts off with, after a while, they feel relaxed. They look around to search for the pink heart. So let's explore. Why do you think they suddenly feel relaxed? I assume that the dragonflies no longer are chasing them. So they're feeling quite brave again. And they remember their mission, the search for the pink heart. So when you read this paragraph, you want to read it in a calm and collected voice. After a while, they feel relaxed. They look around to search for the pink heart. Now you notice when I read the phrase look around, I imagined as though I was looking for something. When you look for something, especially if it's something important, there's an urgency in our voices. Try and adopt that urgency in your voice. How do you adopt that urgency in your voice? First, imagine that you've lost something very precious. For example, your favorite watch or your favorite book. I love reading, so my books are very precious to me. What's precious to you? Can you think? Now imagine if you had lost that thing that is so precious to you. How would you search for it? There would be a sense of panic. Now, you try to read these lines with the emotions that you feel when you lose something, you're searching for something that's very precious to you. Did you give it a try? How did it go? Very good. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to skip the word boom because I'll be covering sound effects later on. So we're going to jump in and we're going to read the lines which start at Max and Liz are sucked up by the pink heart. Now, I'm a little bit shocked. I thought the pink heart was something nice. But this story is a bit shocking because Max and Liz get sucked up by the thing that they've been looking for. So how would you read that? In a shocked voice. Max and Liz are sucked up by the pink heart. We're going to skip the two lines where the dialogue occurs. Then we go to the scary part. A huge pink snake-like creature slithers towards them. Its eyes bulge out and its red tongue rolls out as if to... And the sentence is left hanging there. Oh, this makes me really frightened. What about you? Now, I would like you to try and read the whole story by yourselves. Read it again to your parents or your siblings, or if you have your cousins or your friends around, read this out. Remember to add in the right tone of voice. I'll see you in a bit. Hi kids! So welcome back. So now we are in the second section of our workshop and I've labeled it dialogue. So does anyone know what a dialogue is? Yeah. So a dialogue is when two or more characters in fact, have a conversation. So in our story, you will see that there are sections where conversations take place. And how are we going to add in expression in those sections? Stay tuned to find out. So here we are again. So today we are exploring how we can inject expression and how we can make a dialogue interesting. So if you look at your story, The Adventures of Max and Liz, there are sections in the story where conversations take place. What do you think would be the most interesting way for you to bring life to those conversations? What would you do? How would you bring the characters of Max and Liz to life? Now, if you were paying attention, during the first section of my video, I did use the term character voices. How many of you know what character voices are? Okay, great choices. So basically what a character voice is when you come up with a voice for your character. So let's explore our voices. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 characters. Now these characters are not in our story, but I just want you to play around with your voices a little bit. Now our first character is a toddler. Can you voice a toddler of, say, 2 years old, and his name is Jack? How would you create a toddler's voice? Think about it. I'll give you some time. All right, let's try. So the sentence I would like you to try to say in your toddler voice is, I want my mommy. That's what toddlers want all the time, isn't it? Always looking for their mommy. So can you say, I want my mommy, in a toddler's voice? I'm going to show you how you can do that. Now, this area here in our face is what we call the mask. The mask, as in M-A-S-K. Now, within this area, we can place our voices at different points. So we have different sounds. So I can place my voice over here, and I can do this. I want my mommy. Or I can place my voice somewhere in the middle. I want my mommy. Or I can place my voice right in front. I want my mommy. How did I do that? Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that. Pinch your nose. Don't forget to breathe. Pinch your nose here. Can you say this? I want my mommy. All right, good try. Now, together with playing with the mask, there's another area where you can also play with to get different sounds. Let me show you. So, just here, if you swallow, where you feel the contraction is where you have your larynx. Your larynx. Now, your larynx can be adjusted according to what pitch of voice you would like to use. So all of you who would like to become singers, you would need to be very good at controlling your larynx. So we're going to experiment a little bit. Can you place 2 fingers in your larynx? So if you don't know where your larynx is, just swallow. Find it. The area where the contraction happens. And first, let's just keep our larynx in neutral position. That means don't move it up. And when I mean move it up, it's the sound that you get when you scream like this. Ah! That's when you pull your larynx up, when you raise it up. Now, if you want a low voice, you would push your larynx down like this. So if you keep it in neutral position, that's just your normal voice, so just here. So, I want my mommy. I want my mommy. Or if you want low, I want my mommy. So, your turn to experiment a little bit. Okay? Try this out first, and then I will be back with our second character. Alright, now for our next character, this one's going to be a bit fun. We are going to imagine that we are giants. Okay, so basically the character is a giant who is asleep and someone is knocking on his door and he's quite annoyed. So how would you voice the voice of a giant? So my assumption is that a giant would have a very deep voice. I'm thinking since they're giants, they're very big, so the larynx should be also very big with very thick vocal cords. So I'm thinking the giant has a very deep voice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower my larynx so I get this sound. Okay, can you push your larynx down? So, okay. So now this is what we're going to do. This is our line. Who is that knocking on my door? So once again, who is that knocking on my door? In the voice of a giant. So let's try. Who is that knocking on my door? And if you notice, I'm also pacing my voice. I'm slurring through my words because, as I mentioned, the giant was actually asleep. So he's quite annoyed that someone has woken him up from his deep slumber. Now, can you try that? The voice of a giant who is fast asleep and very annoyed that someone has woken him up from his slumber by knocking on his door. You try, and let's see how it goes. I hope you had fun with that one. Okay, so now our next character, our final character, is, this one's again a bit interesting. I would like you to voice a monster. Okay, so of course there must be, all kinds of monsters, but basically in my mind, I'm thinking a monster has a fairly gruff and rough voice. So how am I going to achieve getting a rough voice? I'm going to show you what we call the vocal fry. It sounds very much as though you're frying an egg on a frying pan. I'll show you what I mean. Can you do this? Sounds rather weird. Can we try that again? So let's do this together. So everything is from here. Yeah, I'm leaving the back of my throat open. So I'm adding that gravelly tone to my voice. Okay, now for the voice of the monster, this is our line. I'm gonna get you. All right? That would make us quite scared, I think, if a monster says, I'm gonna come get you. Okay, so we're gonna say, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. And we're gonna add in the vocal fry. I'm gonna get you. Can you try that? All right, I'll do it one more time for you. I'm gonna get you. Now you try that. And let's see. Can you voice the voice of a monster? I hope you had fun with those character voices. So now I'm going to bring you back to the script itself. So let's look at our script, The Adventure of Max and Liz. So at the section where you see out of the blue, they heard flapping sounds above them. Below that, you will see an what are those flying creatures, Max? So that is, I would say, a scream of panic from Liz. So how are you going to voice that? So I would assume a shriek, your ah! You can actually scream out loud. And because Liz is a girl, so her voice would most probably be pretty high-pitched. So you would want to raise your larynx And since she is, I'm assuming she's his younger sister, because it says his sister Liz is slightly shorter than him. It doesn't say whether she's younger or not. I know I'm stereotyping here, so I'm going to think that Liz is his younger sister. And so she's pretty young then, so she would have definitely a higher pitched voice. So when you're saying that, what are those flying creatures, Max? You should be able to hear the panic in the voice. So how do you voice panic? What are those flying creatures, Max? So number one, you're enunciating your words. Number two, you're also raising your larynx and getting a higher voice. What are those flying creatures, Max? And you can also inject a bit of fear because she's not sure. She hears the flapping sounds and she's not really sure what they are. So you can also add in a bit of fear by injecting and using a bit of quivering in your voice, like, ah! What are those flying creatures, Max? So you can do something like that. And after that, you can see Max is pretty sure of himself. So he is most probably the leader among the two of them. So he just says, run, follow me, Liz. So he commands her. So he's obviously very sure of what to do next. And he is also asking his sister to just follow whatever he's doing. Okay, so make sure that you sound very sure there. So, and when you say that run also a sense of panic there. Run! Follow me, Liz! Okay, and then we move on to the next section. So, after the line, when they reach the tree, they hide in it. Then, once again, you see Liz saying, I'm scared, Max. So, here, once again, you can inject that quiver in your voice to show fear. And once again, you see Max being very sure, very confident, and comforting. He says, don't worry, Liz. I'll take care of you. So that will take us all the way up to Max and Liz are sucked up by the pink heart. So then you see the dialogue happening there. Where are we? So they're confused because they're not sure where they are. Obviously, they did not expect being sucked up by this pink heart. Where are we? So at this point, you hear that Max is not feeling very confident anymore. He's not sure where they are. And then you see the line, look, Max! Here once again, alarm, shock, fear in the voice of Liz. So once again, you can voice that in a high-pitched voice and showing fear once again with that quiver. Look, Max! And you can try to voice that using your own style as well. And right at the end of the text, you see an ah! Because obviously they're both afraid because of the line. Its eyes bulge out and its red tongue rolls out as if to, and then the sentence is left hanging. So try this out and let's see how you do.
Onomatopoeia.
Hi there, it's me again. So this is possibly the most exciting section of our workshop. So this is the sound effects section. Now, if you observed my first slide, you would have seen a pretty strange word. Onomatopoeia. Have you ever heard of this word? Those of you who have studied a little bit of literature perhaps may have heard of this word. If not, then you may not have crossed this odd word in your daily life. Any guesses? What do you think onomatopoeia means? Good try. So onomatopoeia is basically the mimicry of sounds. Okay, to give you a better understanding of onomatopoeia, let's look at the next section. Now, the first thing that we need to understand is, why is onomatopoeia used? Onomatopoeia is used when you need to add some life into a story or a comic. Let's just observe these next few sentences and see the difference on how the effect is on you when a sentence is written with onomatopoeia and without onomatopoeia.
Let's have a look at this sentence. The basketball flew smoothly through the net and the game was won. So this sentence has been written without onomatopoeia. Let's look at the next slide. In this slide, you see swoosh. The basketball flew smoothly through the net and the game was won. Just by the addition of the word swoosh, we immediately feel that sentence more. The sentence immediately becomes more animated. Now let's look at these two sentences. Clang, clang went the bell, reminding us all that it was time for school. Ding dong, there was someone at the door. Now just by hearing the clang clang and ding dong, once again, immediately the sentence comes to life. Here are some examples of sound effects. Machine noises, honk, like the honk of a car. What else? Can you think of some? Beep beep, vroom vroom, clang, zap, boing. Boing can be used, when there's probably a spring bouncing out, or a bunny which is bouncing around, or even a ball. So that's an option. Now let's look at the next one. You will see impact sounds. Now impact sounds are extremely popular in comics. I'm sure you would have noticed boom, crash, whack, thump, bang, pow, kapow. Now these are all impact sounds. And next, the sounds of the voice. Shush, giggle, a murmur. These are all sounds that you can use when you are telling your story.
So let's now look at our script once again. There are quite a number of places where you can add in sound effects to bring more life into your story. So let's have a look at the second paragraph, which says, Max and Liz are now in a new place. They have to cross Dragonland. Out of the blue, they heard flapping sounds above them. So when you read out the word flapping, you can actually bite your consonants more and shoot out your words flapping. So instead of just reading it in a monotonous voice, flapping, so you can enunciate and emphasize flapping sounds above them. Ah! The scream. You need to make it as dramatic as you can. What are those flying creatures, Max? Okay, so that is one area where you can add a sound effect on the scream. Ah! Now, what about this section? Now, this one could be quite interesting. Now, these are just suggestions. You can, of course, add in sound effects at any other areas. Okay, now I'm looking at this paragraph. Max points to a tree and pulls Liz, who is panting breathlessly. So at this point, you can actually make the sound of a person panting. And be dramatic about it. You can do even more than what I did. So you can sound completely breathless. And if you look at the following paragraph, after a while, they feel relaxed. They look around to search for the pink heart. And then you see this huge word here, onomatopoeia here, boom. So boom, once again, bite your words, bite your consonants, and make sure you pull in all the strength that you can from your belly. So you take a deep breath and go boom. And finally, you see on the last line, a huge pink snake-like creature slithers towards them. Its eyes bulge out and its red tongue rolls out as if to, ah! Once again, there you have another scream. So I'm going to leave you to come up with your own sound effects at any point where you feel it will add life to your story. Let's see what you can do. I'm really excited to watch your final product. Take care, everyone, and I really hope you take in whatever ideas that I have presented here and also add in some of your own ideas. All the best. So, which was the most interesting section of the workshop? Which part did you enjoy the most? Just have a think. Great. I really hope that you will be able to put into practice whatever you have learned during this workshop. So remember, when you create your video, remember to narrate with expression, biting your words, pronouncing your words clearly, being expressive, using character voices. Don't forget to create your own character voice for Max and Liz. And finally, don't forget to add in your sound effects. It has been wonderful sharing with you. I really look forward to watching all your wonderful videos. Have a lovely time and all the best in creating a fantastic video. That's all from me, Debra, from Rockstarz Performing Arts Studios. Take care, everyone.